How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to your favorite weekly horoscope for this time for May 3rd through May 9th of 2021. My name is Cam White. Thank you guys so much for being here, liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. I love and appreciate every single one of you guys. If you're watching this right now on YouTube, you can watch this early. If you guys join my Patreon, thank you to all of my patrons on Patreon. They get early access to all of my videos as well as the podcast. I'm like all over the place today. I feel so good. I just decided to just jump and record this right now. We have a lot to talk about this week. However, I'm still like really feeling that full moon that we just got off of. I don't know, I feel full moon hungover in a sense. It was so, I saw for a lot of people, it was like super fucked up, and I'm sorry for you guys. I feel it just so cleansing. It was just it was literally like an Evanescence song. It was just I felt woke up inside. I felt, I don't know, it was just good. It was good to get that deep, but I also had, because I'm an astrologer, I had a situation that was perfect for those type of emotions and feelings. So it was really cool. I had a really good time. I'm still kind of fucked up on that. So this is kind of difficult for me too. However, we kind of have to move on because literally the rest of the year starts right now. This week, my Mercury retrograde video is going to be coming out. So I'll be explaining the whole Mercury retrograde stuff and you guys will be able to see that. However, really, this week, again, it kind of kicks off the rest of this year, in my opinion. So let me actually get to explaining that. We start Monday. Of course, I'm recording this on Friday. This is the moment I'm recording this. Let's get to Monday. Here's the thing with Monday. We're going to be having the moon in Aquarius. It's going to be making this conjunction with Saturn as it squares Uranus, right? The moon will square Uranus earlier in the morning, make a conjunction with Saturn. Monday kind of has a lot going on as we have the moon in Aquarius where we're, feeling a little bit reckless and rebellious on Monday. As it squares Uranus, there's going to be this feeling of having, discomfort, this feeling of upheaval, this feeling of feeling ungrounded, unsituated. The moon's then going to conjoin Saturn where there's this kind of finding a, hiding spot, finding a, pillar of support. The moon conjoining Saturn is we get kind of serious about trying to handle the situation. It's we're not playing games anymore. But as we start on Monday, with the moon squaring Uranus and Saturn in the background, we also have Mercury squaring Jupiter. Mercury is going to square Jupiter pretty early in the day. And then Mercury is going to simultaneously enter Gemini later that afternoon, Monday afternoon. So Mercury squaring Jupiter is, for one, Mercury is in Taurus along with Venus, right? Honestly, it's been a little, I don't want to say too good to be true, but it's been a lot better than I feel like a lot of us were anticipating. But as Mercury is at those final degrees of Taurus, there's kind of this steadiness to our communication. There's this holding our ground type energy. And I talk about this in my monthly horoscopes that you guys should have watched by now. This Mercury square Jupiter is having to get a message across. And it's not always the easiest. Mercury square Jupiter is there's not necessarily this agreement with communication, and that's okay. Mercury in Taurus is grounded. Jupiter in Aquarius is going to do its own thing, and that's just, bygones are going to be kind of bygones. But as Mercury enters Gemini, it's once that kind of maybe difficult conversation has to be kind of brought up, it's once Mercury goes into Gemini on Monday or later on Monday evening, it's all of this mental clarity just really starts to rush in. Mercury entering Gemini is very it's time to start talking. It's time to start, socializing. It's time to start, taking in stimulation. Mercury's going to be heading up towards the North Node. So this is going to be only intensifying Mercury's topic. So again, Monday's kind of a lot going on. With the moon squaring Uranus, feeling shaky, with the moon conjoining Saturn later on to feeling we got to get our shit together, with Mercury squaring Jupiter, feeling things might be blown out of proportion a little bit, and they'll get resolved, but it will feel a little blown out of proportion. Mercury will then enter Gemini, where it's all of a sudden all these ideas rush through. It's like after you fight someone and then you're in the shower and you replay the conversation in your head. You're like, fuck, this is what I should have said. That's what Monday evening is going to be like. And like Monday morning is completely different from Monday evening too. That's what's really funny about Monday. That's what I also love, like when you get to the specific times of transits actually happening. Anyway, also on Monday, the sun's going to be squaring Saturn, which I thought this was really interesting because Saturn, the whole Saturn-Uranus square is just going on in the background, right? Lots of destabilization. I feel like I cannot say that word. But as the sun's in Taurus squaring Saturn, there's this kind of sense of like, for one, what the sun really does is the sun's not necessarily like a planet, right? Like the sun's a luminary. With the sun in Taurus being, highlighting what we're, where do we need to feel grounded? Where do we need to feel secure? It's been on top of Uranus where that's the rules look different now. And I think with the sun squaring Saturn is like, the thing is with Uranus is Uranus is so inventive. Like when you look at, like, this is why I said earlier this year, the GameStop thing that happened earlier this year is pretty much the best example of Saturn square Uranus of like, Saturn in Aquarius is like, oh, we can do things differently. And Uranus is like, well, the unexpected could really shake things up. And this is like when you kind of just scrap the book, like that's what's so funny about, like, I remember like if for all of the Bitcoin people out there, like it was a really big thing. Like people were like waiting for Bitcoin to get to 30,000, just waiting for it to get to 30,000. Then it's like finally it hit 30,000. Then all of a sudden it just went to 60,000. Like it was just like, and everyone was like, like that was a lot really fast. Like no one was really kind of expecting that so quickly. And now it's kind of hanging out around there. And so it's almost like with Saturn squaring Uranus, there's this sense of like, sure, things are destabilizing, but like sometimes like throwing out the rule book could be an advantage. And I really think the sun in Taurus squaring Saturn here is like, when you throw the opposing team up for a loop, you kind of get the high ground for a moment. So the sun squaring Saturn is like, yeah, there's going to be this moment of like, all right, also mind you, Saturn is getting ready to station retrograde at this point. This is where it just gets a little bit serious. And I think this is also where you start to go, okay, I see where I have leverage and I see where I need to get a little bit more grounded, but I also see what needs to change, right? I only say that because Saturn's getting ready to station retrograde. And I think the sun squaring Saturn is kind of that moment where you go, okay, I'm starting to see what responsibilities are going to be taking over. It's like, sure, you might have that leverage now, but now it's like, now you got to play a serious game. It's kind of like when you shoot your shot a little bit out of your league and you end up making it in. And you're like, and now you got to keep that energy up, right? It's like, that's kind of like how this is going to feel. And this is also happening on Monday. So again, this is why I almost kind of started, like my energy is a little bit different. My energy is really different right now than I feel like I've been on video. But like Monday really does kick off the whole like rest of the year because once Mercury enters Gemini, sure, it won't be in shadow yet, but like Mercury's not going to leave Gemini until like July. So Mercury spent 2 weeks. It only spent 2 weeks in Taurus. It's going to spend literally like a fucking month, 2 months, over 2 months in Gemini. Plus there's going to be eclipse seasons. Plus Jupiter's going into Pisces at the same time. Plus Saturn's going to station retrograde. There's so much that really begins now, and it really starts on Monday. This is why I also said, like I try to tell you guys, like April and March and April were like, hang out for a minute, shit's gonna start to change, and here we are. We get to Tuesday. On Tuesday, the moon is then going to square Venus and conjoin Jupiter before it enters Pisces, and then as it enters Pisces, it's gonna square Mercury. This is that first morning that we get with Mercury and Gemini. We're feeling good. We're feeling communicative. Look at Venus is in domicile. Mercury is in domicile here. There's this like, the good energy is really still going on here, right? There's nothing bad with this. In my opinion, this is really the best day. Because the moon's going to be applying, literally like the moon will square Venus, which a square is not always the best, but you want the moon to contact Venus, right? And the moon's going to separate from Venus and apply to Jupiter pretty much the whole day. So this is really good. I think this is kind of like, Venus and Taurus is like where you see the growth. Moon in Aquarius squaring Venus, it's like, you see the growth and you see the opportunity with that. And as the moon separates from Venus to Jupiter, it's like when you're like, oh, now that this is growing well, now that this is stable, it's like, well, now what else is possible, right? How else can we expand this more? How can we do it more? And that theme of how can we do this more is going to keep coming up because Venus is going to square Jupiter. But on Tuesday, this is really being like, oh, like really optimistic. Again, Mercury's in Gemini here. For the whole day, pretty much the moon is going to be applying to Venus, applying to Jupiter. Then once it separates from Jupiter later that evening and the moon goes into Pisces, that's when we're going to feel a little bit more, wishy-washy. And the moon's going to square Mercury by Tuesday night, where it's like we have the idea in our head, but when we or it's one of those things where maybe we don't have the idea in our head, but when we say it out loud, it ends up just flowing really well. So like this is one of those moments where if you don't have clarity, like definitely write things out. I say this all the time. Talk to yourself out loud. Work it out through like with yourself. You know what I mean? This is one of those times that moon in Pisces scoring Mercury in Gemini is like things may not make sense unless like you really just kind of talk about it. Don't just assume shit, which is like very moon in Pisces, kind of like, oh, let me just be aloof about it. So Tuesday looks really good. It ends a little bit weird. Then we get to Wednesday. Now, it was so funny. I was just talking to a buddy of mine about this water stuff. Like you guys know me, like I don't like water transits, but man, I am loving these water transits lately. Like Mars in Cancer is so nice right now. I don't like how crabby I've been, and I feel like I'm more aware that I am crabby, or maybe that I'm just upset, or maybe I'm just kind of being a little bitch about shit. But it's very replenishing right now. And as we get into Wednesday, all we really have is this moon in Pisces trining Mars in Cancer, and this is very just like it's very healing. I hate to say that word because healing is so like the idea, and this is something I'm going to talk about, like this is why it's on my mind, because I haven't recorded the next podcast yet, and I'm going to, but it's really going to be about this whole healing shit, because it's just like people, like there's I don't want to get into it right now, but what I want to get to with, and why I said this is a very healing day on Wednesday, maybe this is when I'll record the podcast, is the moon in Pisces is very explorative, right? The moon in Pisces, it's like the moon in Pisces is like, you don't have to be emotional, but if you want to, there's room for you to do that. If you just want to play, there's room for you to do that. If you want to be more stoic, there's room for you to do that. And as the moon's applying to Mars in Cancer, it's like Mars in Cancer is very, kind of sensitive. Mars in Cancer is like wants that protection. Mars in Cancer wants that sensitivity. Mars in Cancer wants that trust, right? And the moon in Pisces trining Mars is like there's this kind of like safe place to explore your emotions. It's the moon, trining Mars as Mars is in its house, and the moon's going to be in Pisces. I think this is going to kind of open up the door to Mars in Cancer of like, seeing things in a much more philosophic, a much more spiritual sense, especially as Mars in Cancer is kind of like, we're feeling a little defensive, we're feeling a little bit more withdrawn. This is going to be a little bit more of that energy. And this is really the only thing going on Wednesday. So Wednesday's very like an aloof day. The moon trining Mars is, don't do things off an emotional impulse. This is one of those things, well, I shouldn't say don't do things off an emotional impulse. Do things off an emotional impulse if it's fun, but just be careful, because you could kind of find yourself in maybe a difficult situation. But this is also a day to just like have fun with that water stuff, like feel stuff. Like it's okay to feel things. And I feel like this is a very safe day to feel things on Wednesday. Take with that as you will. We move on to Thursday, and the moon's going to pretty much only going to be conjoining Neptune, and then pretty much go void. Nothing really else going on. Thursday again. I'm sure a lot of you are really sick of my psychedelic analogies, but this is one of those moments. If you guys, well, for all the sober people out there, you'd get that. Some of you might get this, but this is one of the, like, the moon conjoining Neptune, then going void in Pisces is very like it's like when you're like 5 hours deep on acid, you're like, I'm ready to be sober now. You're like, I'm ready for this to be done. Like, I think the first day of Wednesday is gonna feel cool being wishy-washy, but then the moon conjoining Neptune's like, all right, I'm kind of, or it's like when you've had a little bit too much to drink, you're like, all right, it's time to sober up. Like I'm I'm done. This is very, it's going to feel like the moon conjoining Neptune's going to feel very idealistic. It's going to feel good, but then once it goes void, it's just going to be kind of like, you're kind of just waiting. It's kind of when you're like, again, like after a party or after a night of drinking, you're just like too drunk and like you're eating just something to sober up and you're kind of just waiting to sober up. That's what Thursday's going to feel like. Thursday's just going to feel kind of like a drag. What I also bring up on Thursday is I don't really want to talk about Venus trine Pluto, because like what is there to talk about? But I would also, what's interesting is not only is Venus trine Pluto, but Venus is pretty much going to be like on Algol on Thursday. And so Algol, if you guys aren't familiar, fixed star Algol, there's a lot of stars in the night sky. We don't use all of them in astrology. There's a few that are much more important than the others. One of them is being Algol, which is at like 26, 27 Taurus. And Algol is really like revengeful. Algol is very like, about beheading. It's very like, it's like the Scorp, in my opinion, it's like, I was trying to make a meme about this of like, I really want to like make a meme of like a bunch of Tauruses hanging out and it's like all like pastel like bitches, and then it's like Algol, and it's like the super goth emo like in the middle of all the Taurus lineup, because that's really what Algol is. And I think Venus on Taurus is gonna feel, or Venus on Algol is gonna feel very like it's kind of like when you're just like feeling good, right? And it's gonna feel kind of powerful. You're gonna feel a little power drunk, if that makes sense, which isn't always a bad thing. I mean, do with it what you will. You're just going to be feeling really good, and you're going to like be wanting to take it to an extremes, which is just, again, take with that as you will. I just wanted to make that mention. For some of you, that might be more important than others. Wow, I'm kind of flying through this horoscope this week. We get to Friday, and as we get into Friday, the moon's going to go into Aries, pretty much make a square to Mars and sextile to Mercury. Now, mind you, we just got off that full moon in Scorpio, right? A lot of things got revealed. A lot of things kind of like, got washed out. And as the moon's on its way to this new moon in Taurus, where this new moon in Taurus is like really where we're getting settled in. Like the new moon in Taurus is very like, all right, we need to get grounded. We've been kind of everywhere. As that moon enters Aries, this is, again, we're going to be, really responsive, wanting to, do this, do that. The moon in Aries is very confrontational. The moon in Aries is very blunt. The moon will enter Aries where we'll feeling like we need to do something. It's kind of like the moon in Pisces void on Thursday is kind of like, wanting to sober up. The moon in Aries is like when you take an energy drink. Like, I only really drink Bang energy drinks because there's nothing in them. But it's funny when you drink those and then you drink like something like a Rockstar. It's like Rockstar's literally like meth. Like it's just like the most insane. I don't know. Like don't get me wrong, I like uppers like that, but it's just so intense. The moon in Aries will feel very, very like that for two reasons. One, the moon's gonna sextile Mercury in Aries, where like the moon in Aries sextiling Mercury in Gemini is like if you're in a classroom, it's like the asshole kid and the smart ass kid are like teaming up to pretty much like and they're just on a roll. Like they're just on a good one. Like you remember like those two kids or like kids in class that would just be fucking funny and they're just like it just wouldn't stop. That's kind of like Friday's energy. But again, the moon's in Aries. We're very blunt. We're wanting to do things, and it's sextiling Mercury in Aries. I mean, my bad, Mercury in Gemini. With Mercury in Gemini, it's like Mercury's getting closer to the North Node here. We're getting a lot more like our ideas, our sense of communication. It's on fire. Like we're just wanting to like Mercury in Gemini. It's like, when the wind is pushing your sails, it's like when make hay when the sun shines kind of shit. And Mercury and Taurus was okay, but like with Mercury and Gemini, it's like that your mind's functioning, you're on top of it, you're thinking, you're communicating, it's all going very fast, right? It's kind of like when you're by yourself, checked out, scrolling on your phone. That's very Mercury and Taurus, versus Mercury and Gemini is like when you get to like a festival for the first time and you got to figure out where you are and where you're going, and you have to like download the new information, download the new environment, and it's just like a lot of stimulation, a lot of processing. That's Mercury and Gemini, right? And we're capable of expressing that better. We're capable of saying all that stuff better. As the moon's in Aries sextiling Mercury, this is like making that connection, because again, Mercury enters Gemini on Monday, Monday, And we get the first aspect we get is a square to the moon, right? In Pisces. So it's like we start this Mercury and Gemini period off kind of like, what? And then it's like the moon goes into Aries sextiling Mercury. And this is where we kind of start to get it. Friday's where things start to click. But after Mercury, or after the moon makes that sextile to Mercury, where this is, charming to say the least, the moon is then going to square Mars, where this isn't the worst aspect in the world. I would definitely say like a Mercury-Mars aspect is going to be probably worse for communication. But the moon squaring Mars is going to be like, just because you, like, again, if you were going to joke about like a, let's say like the class clowns, right? There's certain days where the teacher is like, oh, okay, that's funny. And then there's certain days where like, the teacher's just like had a fucking enough because he's tired of like the shithole people that he has to deal with, the public kids. The moon squaring Mars is kind of like, it's all fun and games until someone gets upset, and the moon squaring Mars is like you're gonna have fun, and then someone's gonna say fuck you and smack you in the face. So it's kind of like just Friday's good. I don't want to say it's bad. I think the moon squaring Mars, though, it's like sometimes people can't take a joke. I shouldn't say that. Most people nowadays can't take a joke at all. Most people nowadays are just so hypersensitive. So this was like the hypersensitivity is what makes me scared of this, right? Like if we were all normal people, I'd be like, oh, people are going to be sensitive to stuff, which is fine. But this is very like reactionary, right? Mercury and Gemini is also in the North Node, like, just don't push people's buttons if you don't want to deal with it. If you don't want to deal with the repercussions of it, don't do it, right? Like, that's kind of the energy that this has. But the moon sextiling Mercury is like, things are going to be kind of clicking. On one end, the moon squaring Mars is like, don't push people's buttons. Don't try to antagonize anybody. But the moon squaring Mars, too, is like, you don't have to like, you're gonna like feel like you're gonna feel like you have to push yourself to do something that you don't want to do, right? The moon and Mars are in this mutual reception. Mars in Cancer is like, I don't want to do that, and the moon in Aries is like, well, I don't want to tell you that you have to do this. So like there's this at odds, right? The moon in Aries, it does not like to. The moon doesn't like to be in Aries. That's my opinion. I don't think the moon likes to be that confrontational. I don't think the moon likes to be aggressive. I don't think the moon doesn't like to be in Scorpio. Why would it like to be in Aries? That's just my line of thinking. And because, Mars also doesn't like to be in Cancer. So why would the moon like to be in Aries? Anyway, so when you get that, like the Mars in Cancer is like, I don't feel good, so I don't want to do anything. And the moon in Aries is like, well, I'm not in a good mood, and I don't want to fucking tell you what to do, but here I am, right? And Mercury's in Gemini, where it's like, we're going to get the message across. So I think Friday is kind of like, also too, this is why I said like make hay when the sun shines, right? This is really on Friday that this happened, or my bad, Saturday is when Venus actually squares Jupiter, but this is like, again, there's only so many hours in the daytime. And so I think there's going to be kind of this feeling of like really needing to get on the point here. The moon is also coming up towards the new moon in Taurus that we're going to have next week. And this moon in Aries is like, okay, now that I see that things are clicking, this is what I need to get in order to do that. And it's just kind of like, you're just going to be throwing a fit. You're just not going to want to do it. Like I already feel this way. Like it's, again, like I've been liking Mars in Cancer more than usual lately. And it's in my 8th house. It's horrible to say, but it's also just like, it's just so easy to not want to do things with Mars in Cancer. And I think the moon in Aries is just, we're going to get a little frustrated with that. It's like Taurus season. By this time, we're like kind of over Taurus season. Like, we're like, all right, it's time to get this Gemini shit on a roll. We get into Saturday, and Saturday is when Venus is going to square Jupiter. And again, this is where, the poison makes the dose on Saturday. Venus squaring Jupiter is like, if you take things to extreme, like this is a good, like some of you are going to make a lot of significant purchases on this day. A lot of you are going to take the good stuff to extremes. Hey, I think that's fine. There's a time and place for stuff, but let's also look at like Venus and Taurus squaring Jupiter and Aquarius is like, if you're, let's go back to our school children days. For some people that have experienced this, it's like, well, how teachers like, if you're going to bring something for yourself, bring something for the whole class. This is kind of one of those things. It's like, if you're going to do something for yourself, share it with everybody. Not to say, and this, I'm only using that analogy where it's like, but don't share it with the whole school, right? Like, bring some around, but know your limits. I think this is also, again, Jupiter's at 29, Venus at 29. This is taking things really far. It's the benefics, and they're squaring, so I think that's good. I mean, some of you, like, well, it's kind of like if you're going to binge out on sugar, but you're going to, your blood sugar's going to be up. You're going to be feeling all fucking high from the carbs and shit. Like, you're going to feel like you're going to get an effect from it. But this is kind of like one of those things where it's like Venus square Jupiter, just, again, the dose makes the poison. Be very, do things and enjoy them to the extreme, but just like have a cap at some point. Because I think it can get really far. It can be easy to take things too far here. Especially as Venus is about to enter Gemini and Jupiter is about to enter Pisces. And I don't think this is bad at all. Like, there's nothing about this where I'm like, this is gonna feel negative. Like, and this is gonna feel good. I just feel like I gotta tell you guys, like, hey, maybe you should calm down just because you're gonna just go overboard. If you take too much sugar, you're gonna be up all night. I feel like I gotta be your guys' parent. But anyway, Venus is gonna square Jupiter. There's good shit going on, but we've got to contain it somewhere, and there's only so much to go around, right? Venus square Jupiter, there's only so much to give out. Do what you can, because you've got it. Get it while the getting's good, but just know where the limits are. Later on Saturday, though, Venus enters Gemini. And as Venus makes that square to Jupiter, it's like, okay, I see where my limits are operating, right? We're feeling good. And then Venus enters Gemini, where it's time to socialize, right? Venus is about, think again. Last time Venus was in Gemini, this is like right when lockdown started, and everyone was talking online, and everyone was doing Zoom, and everyone was getting their offices together and whatnot, and working from home. Venus is very about fun, love, romance, connection. And in Gemini, it's all about socializing. It's all about stimulation. Mercury's there, so it's going to be like, ooh, what's this? Ooh, what's that? Shiny object here, shiny object there, distraction here, distraction there. And there's going to be this enjoyment with connection, this enjoyment of communication, this enjoyment of like learning more, going towards something. So as Venus enters Gemini after that square to Jupiter, it's like, all right, I know it's kind of like once you have like 2 or 3 shots and you're feeling good, it's like then you can like, be social, right? Like that's a bad analogy, but you guys know what I mean. It's like once you're feeling right, like you don't need to get too drunk. If you get too drunk, you're just going to look like a fool. But if you get that Venus square Jupiter, if you get the right amount, you're going to feel good. And I think energetically, we're going to get that right amount of goodness to where as we go into Saturday night with Venus and Gemini, go out on Saturday night. Go enjoy yourself. Go and do something fun. The moon's also going to be in Aries, where it's pretty much void at this point. It's going to sextile Saturn, so that's constructive, but whatever. The moon is pretty much dark, and it's coming up towards the new moon. So it's like, we're kind of getting things settled out. Like, things are working out, and now it's just a waiting period. It's like, yeah, but everything's already planned out. Everything's going according to plan. Now it's just a waiting period, essentially, as we get to Saturday night. So it's like Venus going into Gemini. Go enjoy. Venus and Gemini is about like connecting, enjoying, stimulating yourself in a lot of different ways. And that's just going to be the theme as it continues. But I think we'll feel really good about that as we get into Saturday night. But then we get into Sunday, and on Sunday is when the moon is going to pretty much make a sextile to Jupiter right before it enters Taurus, right before we get into this new moon. Now, Sunday isn't really all that special, in my opinion. I mean, Venus is in Gemini, Mercury's getting more towards the North Node. That's actually going to be something that happens next week, though. The moon sextiling Jupiter and Aries is like, all right, I see what I can do. I see where my vantage point is. Like getting a plan together, getting a system together, knowing what you can do, knowing what you can't do. I think that's going to be a big thing of this moon in Aries. And then as the moon, goes into Taurus, it's like now we're just kind of counting down for this new moon in Taurus. Like, where do we need to get resettled? Because we're about to pretty much, it's like Venus and Mercury in Gemini, it's like we just got to the beach and like everyone's trying to run towards the water. It's like, hold on, before we start playing in the ocean, let's find a spot to put our shit down first. And that's very much this new moon in Taurus. Like, we're a bunch of crazy shit's about to start going down with the eclipse season, with the Mercury retrograde and all of that stuff. And before all that, let's get centered, let's get grounded. That's what this new moon in Taurus is about. And as this moon sextiles Jupiter in Aries before it ingresses into Taurus, this is like, okay, finding the right spot at the beach, being like, this is where I want to go. This is where we have the most space. And then the moon goes into Taurus. It's like, now we get to start to settle. So Sunday, it's like we really start to settle down. Of course, now we're going to talk about next week. But it's just really important to understand how, like, you're probably thinking like, wow, there's not a lot going on this week. And there really isn't a lot going on this week. But when we talk about next week, let's talk about next week. Mercury conjoins the North Node right as we start next week, literally on Monday. That, in my opinion, is almost more important than I think Mercury entering shadow, because Mercury will enter shadow also next week, but let's not jump ahead of ourselves. Mercury's going to conjoin the North Node where it's like the intensity of the communication of whatever Mercury rules in your whatever Mercury rules in your chart, whether it's your 7th house of relationships, 10th house of career, 4th house of living situation. Mercury on the North Node is going to intensify those subjects pretty much right as we start off the week. And then also on Monday and Tuesday of next week, we have the new moon in Taurus, where it's like we have like 5 minutes to get settled down while all this extreme, like it's like we got to the movie theater late, the movie's already starting, we missed the preview, and now we got to get comfortable because right after the new moon in Taurus, Jupiter enters Pisces, and then Mercury enters shadow, which is like, again, when I said the rest of the year starts this week, like the next 3 or 4 months, really, the context really starts to begin now. And as Jupiter enters Pisces, this is like the whole context of 2022 starts to set in. And again, like I said, when Jupiter enters Pisces, this is when we're going to be getting that whole whiff of what's to come. And Mercury entering shadow is like, now the context starts to get filled of like what's going to change in the upcoming few weeks. So it's like, next week has so much going on. Next week is huge compared to this week. This week is not that crazy. This week is really... it's cool. I mean, Mercury goes into Gemini, great. Venus goes into Gemini, great. Venus is going to square Jupiter. Mercury is going to square Jupiter. Like I said in the May horoscopes, it's we find a center point, we find a resolution, and then we move forward and we start doing something else. So that's what this week looks like. It's again, this week is important because next week is important. It's like, again, in hindsight, this week is just kind of getting things together, and it's really next week where shit starts to hit the fan. So, with that being said, thank you guys so much for being here. I think that's everything I wanted to hit on. With that being said, thank you guys so much for being here, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. I love and appreciate every single one of you, and I'll be seeing you next week.